Everybody. Today we'll be talking all about Wall Street. Very, very important topic. Why it's important is critical because Wall Street has represented something extremely important here in the United States. Let's introduce me first. I'm Craig Ferrantino. I'm a certified financial fiduciary, wealth strategist, and I'm the president and owner of Craig James Financial Services. And my license is Park with You, the Great United Planners. And here's some other information about me. We don't want to get too much into it, but it's good to know. I'll just say this, that I started in Wall Street. So that's perfect. And that's where I started my career. A few months into it, the Black Friday, I think it was, happened. So it was very, very interesting times. And it's great to be down there at the time and commuting in on a daily basis. Not looking forward, glad I'm not doing it anymore. Let's put it that way. So what is Wall Street? The importance of Wall Street, history of Wall Street, and the significant events in Wall Street history. And this is what we're going to be discussing today. Let's go into it. So it's really an 8-block long historical street in the financial district of Lower Manhattan, bordered on one end on Broadway by Trinity Church. That's that church that was mostly Black during my time at Wall Street. And then someone said that's soot from the earlier days. And so they cleaned it. So now it's like a dark brown. And it's really the center of Manhattan's financial district. And the stock exchange is located on Wall Street. And also down the block from where Wall Street is where General or President Washington gave the first inaugural address of the United States. It was there. It's right next to it, Federal Hall. And a little further down on Maiden Lane is the Federal Reserve. The Wall Street Journal is nearby, and the NASDAQ's further uptown. But they're all kind of located in the area. Wall Street is a well-known symbol of capitalism. That's the idea started by Alexis de Tocqueville, the wealth of nations. Very important to know what capitalism is and the US financial system, which has been adopted by it. And Wall Street is often used as a term to describe investment banking firms, banks, publicly traded companies, and financial markets. That's good. Now let's look about the importance of Wall Street. So what happens on Wall Street on a day-to-day basis impacts the US economy, absolutely. And more importantly, everybody is looking at what the United States is doing. We now have 24-hour news service. We see when Wall Street closes. By the way, the stock exchange is open at 9:30 in the morning and closes at 4 p.m. And so stocks have traded through there. There's New York Stock Exchange hours, which are different than the normal holidays. And they'll get things like a Good Friday is off. It's not a New York Stock Exchange. It's a New York Stock Exchange holiday. So, but banks will be open on that day. So there's certain days when the stock exchange closes, but the bond market is still open. And then there are days when the New York Stock Exchange is closed and banks are open. So you find that that's very interesting. And that's all due to the history of Wall Street. So little known facts there. There's a couple of great movies on Wall Street. I can think of the one with Michael Douglas. Books, celebrity icons such as Warren Buffett, they have their own je ne sais quoi, as we would say. The Oracle of Omaha was Warren Buffett. And, Wall Street is home to some of the largest and most powerful financial institutions and stock exchanges in the world. It's often blamed during times of financial crises due to strong influence and overall economic activity. So that Wall Street is to blame. Generally, the Wall Street represents the market. It's the symbolic representation of the markets, the fact that you could buy something and you could sell something, and the price is determined by the demand or a lack of demand. So all that is unique, and that's also unique to capitalism. There's no controlled prices here. So that's it's truly one of the symbols of capitalism here in the United States, and actually for economic growth throughout the world. So in 1652, the Dutch settlers in New Amsterdam built a wall. Don't forget, they bought Manhattan for, I think, $23, some trading. And they built a wall to protect the colony from the English invasion in 1652. We do want to talk about the, not in here, but very prominently the Battle of Brooklyn, which is the Battle of Long Island, where General Washington was holed up in Park Slope. They got chased throughout Long Island there with the spies and everything else. And General Howe, Commander Howe of the British Navy, had 400 ships all around the sea there. And General Washington was holed up in Park Slope, was able to, through a very interesting story for another day perhaps, was able to evacuate his troops. The largest peacetime evacuation under enemy fire in the history of the United States took place not too long ago, in the month of August. And we're coming up, I think, pretty close to the 250th anniversary of that. Maybe I should do a presentation on that because that's extremely fascinating. The prominent bankers and merchants in the U.S. signed the Buttonwood Agreement. This is to effort to establish a members-only stock exchange, which means that you had to be a member in order to be able to trade stocks. Not everybody could do it, which would hope you would be trained and not just giving away shares and things like that. And then they opened up the Buttonwood Exchange in 1817, and the modern New York Stock Exchange building is now open at Broad Street and Wall Street. Basically not occupied anymore. It's all gone to electronic. There used to be floor traders there and specialists in certain stocks, and a lot of that has gone to the wayside. So here's some significant, you always hear the bad news, you don't hear the money that people have made, but the 1929 stock market crash, and which led to the Great Depression for a couple of years, and then the New Deal under President Roosevelt. You got the Black Monday stock market crash in 1987, fell 22.6%, and that was almost twice as the worst day in 1929. I do remember that day very well. And it was to mark the start of the global stock market decline. I don't know if that's exactly true, but that's in there. And we had, of course, the global financial crisis. We thought the world was coming to an end back in 2007, 2008. So it shows the vulnerabilities of our banking system. And there may be some other tests, you know, never know. Maybe some other tests to our banking system sometime in the future. But right now they have a stress test. They have some things in place that we've learned from each of these events. Regulations came out after the 1929, which would be the Securities and Exchange Act of 1933, the Federal Reserve Act of 1933, and also the Investment Advisor Act of 1939, were all those government interventions into the idea of capitalism. All right, Wall Street is the center of Manhattan financial district. Wall Street is a well-known symbol of American capitalism and the U.S. financial system. And Wall Street's home to some of the largest and most powerful financial institutions in the United States and in the world. And it's really, when you look at Wall Street, it really just talks about the idea of capitalism, the idea that you can invest in and find a way, aside from getting the banks to lend you money, which are very strict. Maybe I could go to the public, issue shares in my company, and have those shares traded on an open market, and maybe there'll be some value through all of that. Now, question here is, now that you know about Wall Street, what questions do you have? And we're here to help. If you know anything, or if you know anybody who could use help, 631-393-2888. That's 631-393-2888. This has been our Financial 15. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we provided some insight. Feel free to give us a call if you have any questions, and have a great day.